Then we get the 4-hour break of structure. We look for the 4-hour pullback, right, to form that lower high. And then how do we anticipate that that 4-hour lower high is over? We wait for a 4-hour bearish chock, right? That bearish money break of structure back in line with the overall 4-hour trend. And then we go over to the 15-minute chart, right? How could we see that even more? What will that 4-hour over here? What will that 4-hour bearish chock be on the 15-minute time frame? It will most likely be a bearish trend change, right? So we can see this was our swing high here, this is our swing low, right? It's the lowest point before that high got broken. Pricing comes down, it just about closes below, and that gives us our 4-hour change of character. The 15-minute is now confirmed bearish, right? And then we can start to look to target that 4-hour swing low, right? But this whole time, the daily is still bullish, so we do have to be aware that potentially a daily low could kick in, and we could get, you know, that next bullish break of structure to the upside, right? But if we continue to look at the 4-hour price action, right, and if we just wait for the 4-hour to switch bullish before, you know, it tells us that the daily is going to form that high low and go, then we can see that it never does that. Or we can continue to kind of milk that 4-hour bearish trend, and then eventually we do get that daily break of structure, and we do get that daily bearish trend change, right? Now, when we get that daily bearish trend change and we get that closure down here, right, the daily's now bearish. We're expecting a daily bearish trend. But what's happened on the weekly chart? Well, the weekly is bullish, and we are expecting a weekly high low to kick in. But then as the daily switches bearish and we start to come down with a lot of momentum, right, down here, that can clearly show us that the weekly failed to take out the high, right? It failed to even close above this minor high here. So that instantly gives us really good, solid information, a very high probability, not a certainty, but a high probability that this is a weak weekly low, right? So now we can work with the assumption that, especially with the daily switching bearish, that's a very high probability to try and target this as a nice swing target and try and place shorts all the way down and towards running this weekly low, right? Now, price could very much still come down here, right, and go, because until we get a closure below this swing low, we are still bullish. Now, of course, that doesn't have to happen. We can still come down now and switch bearish, right? But the whole point is all the way up here, right? How many pips away is that? If I get rid of that, and I mark it from, okay, so it's around here, you know, roughly that is, you know, 340 pip target that you can start to take advantage of, and potentially you've got in with a 10, 5, 4, 3, 2 pip stop, right? You do the math on that, that is a hell of a lot of potential reward to risk, but you're using logic, right, and just very sort of, you know, I don't want to say basic, but simple market structure knowledge of, okay, where is our trend? Where's my strong highs? Where's my strong lows, or my weak highs and my weak lows? This should be a strong higher low. We're anticipating it to be that, but when it fails to take out that high, it starts to switch bearish. Then we're bearish on the daily, the 4-hour and the M15 with a hell of a lot of momentum. We can then go, okay, well, it's very likely that this weekly low is going to get run, and now we have a very clear swing target to start to aim for price to get down to, right, long term. Okay, so yeah, I mean, even though this price action, if we dive back in, right, I hopefully kind of start to drive the point home. But, you know, if we drive down to this bit here, okay, we get the 4-hour break of structure. What do we expect after a 4-hour break of structure? We expect the 4-hour pullback, and that's where we got the 4-hour change of character. Whoops, we can get the paintbrush, there we go. The 4-hour change of character down here, right, took the low, took the high. What is that 4-hour change of character down here? It's a 15-minute trend change, right? So you can see it again and again and again there. Did we get, yeah, we just about got a 15-minute change of character there, I believe. Let's zoom in and have a look. Right, so you can anticipate it even earlier. So yeah, just about took that low there. All right, so took the low, and then, you know, it depends on how aggressive you want to be. It's a bit more of a minor pullback here, so you can have that as your high. Then took the low. Sorry, I'm drawing this wrong again. That's the high there. All right, when we took this low, where's the highest point in terms of the internal structure? That would be your high. There's your change of character, and then, yeah, obviously a lot of momentum kicked in, and then we went, and then we got our 4-hour pullback. How do we know where that 4-hour lower high is going to hold? Obviously, we can look for price to come into the premium, which it looked like it did. We get that 4-hour change of character to the downside, giving us indication that the 4-hour lower high is in place. What do you think that 4-hour change of character most likely will be in the 15-minute chart? It will be the 15-minute switching bearish, right? Higher high, come down, we then take the swing low, right? And then we switch bearish, wait for the 15-minute pullback, and then we can target the 4-hour low down here, right? And then it'll be the same thing again and again and again, right? Now, daily clearly bearish at this stage, right? A lot of momentum. Now, if you try and trade when this is happening, you see this momentum, right? And you're trying to change every bullish M1 change of character, every bullish trend change, or maybe even every M15 change of character, eventually you're going to catch this move down here right at the low, right? Because if we scroll down on the 15-minute chart, right, what do we get down here at that daily swing low? We get that minor pullback, and then we get a minor pullback here, right? So it takes the low and then it takes the high. So we get that 15-minute change of character. We're then playing within this internal range, right? We come back down into that low, and then what do we get, right? So that inside bar is a pullback. We come down, we then take that high there. So then we have another, bullish change of character within the change of character, just to give you even more confirmation that this low here is going to hold and the M15 pullback is about to kick in, right? Price moves up, comes back in. We can then look for longs down here with a lot of decent confirmation, at least from an M15 perspective, and then play that move there, which then ends up catching the daily higher low, right? Sorry, the daily lower low, catching the daily pullback. So it will, again, happen first on the M15. But if you did that and you took every single bullish M15 change of character, right, and you're trying to fight all of that momentum, if you did it over here, right, because there was technically an M15 bullish chock there, right, because we took the low and then we took the high and then you could pull back in. Yeah, maybe you can move to break even pretty quickly, but you're just going to get smashed and just take a lot of losses. It's not worth it. So, this is where if you see the daily moving with a lot of momentum, especially with the weekly as well, it's like a 300 pip move or something ridiculous in a few days. Wait for a 4-hour change of character just to give you a bit more, confirmation to want to play that daily pullback, right? So you're going to have to read when you want to be aggressive and when you won't, and that will come with time and experience, because this line up here, this dotted line, is that 4-hour change of character. What is that 4-hour change of character? It's the M15 switching bullish. So now you have, right, more confirmation to then try and play, this next few days of moves. But you have to be aware in the back of your mind, right, how far do I want to push this? It's a lot of momentum. Some of you may go, well, I want to wait for price to pull back up into the daily premium, right, of that swing leg. But as you'll find from your premium versus discount testing, right, when we get a lot of momentum like that, it's the first bearish trend change, right? It's the first bearish break of structure, right? It's the first, after that bullish trend change. What do we know about that? Usually that's when momentum is very high and we don't usually get a deep pullback, right? So if you're taking those longs, even though the M15 is bullish and the 4-hour has a change of character, it's likely not to last very long. So then what happens? We then start to struggle to break these minor highs, right? We break with a couple candles there. We just about close above that one, but it wicks straight away. And then we just wick that. We don't even get a candle closure above. We get the bearish chock back in line. What is that on the M15? That is an M15 trend change. We switch bearish, and now we can look to target that daily low, right? So it's not just targeting, M15 lows at this point. You can have confidence at this point that the daily pullback is now over, and we can start to try and hold those intraday entries at least down towards that daily week low, right? So on and so forth. Let's just continue to mark the daily, as I don't want this video to go on for hours. But yeah, I just think it's a very, very, very useful exercise to go through this in a lot of depth and get very, very comfortable with how the timeframes are all synced with each other. So pricing comes down, right? It takes quite a while. It takes a good few days, 3 or 4 days, right? It tries to close below. This is where you have to wait for the daily candle to close before you can confirm that this is the daily low high, right? Because we don't know that until we get the candle closure on the 6th of July, right? And then we pull back. Now this, right, it's not the most convincing swing pullback, so potentially you could view it as a swing pullback, but when price is kind of moving quite small like that, right, you kind of have to be aware in the back of your mind that that most likely is just going to be a minor high, because then what ends up happening, if we mark the daily range from the swing high to the swing low, we come back up into the premium prices, right, and then we move down further, and this was just used as liquidity, which we'll talk about later on in the course. So then we get another daily break of structure down here, and that's why, right, when we got the break of that daily minor high and we got that daily change of character, what was it on the 4-hour chart? It was that 4-hour bullish trend change. But why did that bullish trend change not last? Why was it just one movement up, and then why did we switch bearish again? Well, it's because of the higher time frames. It was just a daily pullback, right? So then when we got that 4-hour change of character down here, although if you're looking for shorts, you are technically trading against the 4-hour chart, right? You can view it as higher probability because it's still pro the daily trend, and we're still yet to target this weekly low. And when we're very near a week high or low, it's very likely that price is going to want to run it, right? It's going to keep going down before you're likely to see a sustained pullback or a reversal. So kind of the point I want to drive here is, yes, the 4-hour switch is bullish. It goes with a lot of momentum, and it can be very easy to think that we're going to start going to the moon right now. But you have to ask yourselves, where are we within the higher time frames? Well, the daily's bearish. We pull back up into the premium. We get that 4-hour change of character. So that 4-hour change of character is a 15-minute bearish trend change, and it can help us signify that the 4-hour is about to start this pullback, right? But because, like I keep saying, right, because the daily, it's just a potential daily lower high, that can give us, somewhat of a probability to actually want to target the daily low, and we can anticipate that 4-hour bearish trend change again, right? So yeah, it's just the same thing again and again and again. And then what we get that 4-hour pullback after that daily and 4-hour break of structure there. We're pretty much playing within the same range at this point. So sometimes it will sync up where that daily high, all right, and that daily low can end up potentially being the 4-hour low at the same point in time. So how can we anticipate that 4-hour bullish trend change? What do we get? Remember, this whole time it stays bearish, even with the minor lows and highs. And then what do we got? We took the low and then we took the high there. So we got that 4-hour change of character. Let's go on the 15-minute chart. What was that on the 15-minute chart? Just delete these lines. So down here, all right, same thing again and again and again. Let me draw this on properly. Nearly there, guys. All right, we took that daily low, so we got a daily breaker structure there to the downside. Oops, that's actually a breaker structure, not a change of character. All right, so where's the highest point before that low was taken? Over here, so that would be our swing high. Price then comes up and takes that swing high. So now the M15 is confirmed bullish as we get that 4-hour change of character. So the bullish trend kicks in order to facilitate a 4-hour pullback, right? In order to facilitate that daily trying to pull back as well after that daily break of structure. And then this is basically how we start to build trade ideas, right? So now we're anticipating a 4-hour pullback. Let's kind of talk through this. How would I be looking at this in a live market? Well, expecting a 4-hour pullback. So now I would mark on my 4-hour swing range, right? From the high to the low, expecting price to pull back up into the premium, right? But at this point we're down here, so I can start to target up towards this point at least, right? So if we look at the 15-minute chart, we switch bullish, then we have a pullback, and we take another high, right? So that's another break of structures. We've got a double break of structure to the upside, and now we are playing within this high here, and for me, this low here. Right, so this whole time, you can play the shorts, right? And you can play it down to the bottom of the range, but the whole time, the pro trend move I'm trying to look to get really is the pro M15 trend to play that 4-hour pullback up into 4-hour premium prices. So once, you can mark this out as well on the M15, right? You mark it out on every single time frame if you wish to do so. Right, so that's our range. So anywhere below this red line is the discount prices, right? So anywhere within here is ideal to start looking for that low to try and catch that next move. Now, when you see a lot of times, right, price will be taking highs, right, retracing, taking lows, retracing, taking highs, and retracing. We'll talk about this a little bit more later in the course, but essentially that's when price is just ranging, it's struggling to find that internal trend, right? And we're just chopping around. And that can happen a lot when price is at the EQ, right, of a larger range. Sometimes when you see that highs and lows getting taken, it's better to just stay out, and what you want to do is concentrate on buying in the bottom 25% of the range and selling in the top 75% of the range, right? And that'll essentially keep you out of a lot of mess within here. So if you're trying to catch that 15-minute high low to trade that 4-hour pullback, right, down here is going to be the highest probably area to look for that move. But if we just concentrate on market structure, what happens? Price comes down and it tries to form a lower low, right? It tries to break that M15 swing low, but it fails to close below. So that's a really good warning sign, right? That's just grabbing liquidity, right? It's failed to try and push lower. So it's very likely now that that's a bullish sign and we are going to get that move there. So when you see that, right, the M15 failed to close below, you could literally be on the M1 time frame, right? The 1 minute, you could look for an M1 bullish trend change and you could start to anticipate that move. But if you try and take every M1 bullish trend change, sometimes you're going to get full signals, okay? You might get high risk reward, but you might get full signals. So what can we do to increase the probability that the M15 high low is in place? Well, we can wait for the M15 change of character. So we get that movement down, we get that pullback, we get the break of that low, which means that we have a minor high here. So then price comes up and we get that change of character over here. So now the M15 has had a bullish change of character, which is in line with potentially anticipating a bullish M15 high low is in place. So then we can wait for the M15 to pull back, right? Again, you can just mark out this internal leg here, right? You can wait for price to pull back into the discount, and then we eventually get the move. Now it chops around for a little while, and you'll see this a lot in the M15, and the reason why is because this is during the Asian session, so it's typically when volume is quite low, but then during London, right, it dips again into the discount, and then what do we get? We get that change of character, right, where it takes the high, and then we're off, okay? And that is essentially where we would have been looking at that whole time from when the M15 tried to form that higher low. We've got the change of character to give us a good indication that the